Tom.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, you're opening the bids tonight, right?
Yes.
Okay. So in the packet, this is the page that you're looking for. Okay? So there'll be a bunch of tables like this,
Uh-huh.
and you want this right here.
Total contract price.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you can't find it, it's on page 7
Okay.
of the bid form.
Okay.
So this is just a copy, blank copy.
Uh-huh.
If you want, I can leave it here for you.
That'll
Or-
work.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think so. I don't know.
Yeah. Gentleman Jewel called at about 15 after and said he was leaving Indianapolis, had a deposition. I told him that we would go ahead and get started and try not to run them up too much since we have indication and minutes and opening of some bids. So, are you good?
Mm-hmm.
Would everyone please stand for Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, as we gather this evening, we thank you for this wonderful town that we live in. We thank you for the privilege that it is to serve this town. And we thank you for the wonderful people that are in it. This council asks for strength, courage, and wisdom in your guidance. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I need a motion to adjourn.
That was quick.
Did you break any speed? Did you
I see
obey?
a chief.
Were you in Marion County? We're going to call to order the March 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Mooresville Town Council. Gentlemen have had a chance to read the minutes from our February 2nd meeting. I need a motion to either approve or amend those minutes.
Motion to approve minutes from our February 2nd, 2021 meeting.
Motion been made. Do I have a second? Motion been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Also have the minutes from our February 16th abbreviated meeting. I need a motion to either amend or approve those.
Motion to approve minutes from our February 16th, 2021 minutes.
Motion made. Do I have a second? Motion made and seconded. Dustin Craig. All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda, under unfinished business, is opening of the cemetery bids. That's these here.
No, this is the other bidding.
Okay. So
That's
this
the cemetery.
This is a cemetery bid. These bids were due at our last meeting. However, because of the inclement weather, we did postpone the items on the agenda other than the payment of claims. So we will open them tonight. In no particular order. This bid, the request for bids went out for price per mowing. And the first bid that we received is Not One Left Behind. That is the company that had been awarded the bid 2 years ago and had done it for the past 2 years. Their bid is $795 per cutting. And that was Not One Left Behind.
Tom, is this both cemeteries or just?
Yes, this was for both cemeteries.
Okay.
The next bid is from Parks Outdoor Maintenance. His contract pricing per occurrence of $700. There is a section on here, and I do believe that he did have that as a separate line item as far as a spring cleanup in the bid. And I do want to go back to this one. The spring cleanup from Parks Outdoor Maintenance is a annual cost, one-time cost of $174. And let me see, I'm going to go back. And the No One Left Behind, Not One Left Behind. The spring cleanup will be billed as one cutting and will include a complete removal of all growth of any kind as stated in the town bids. So their cleanup will be the $795. The final bid is Broadus Lawn Service, P-R-O-A-D-U-S. And their bid is $850 per mowing for the work and scope listed above. It does not give a price for the cleanup. That is all the bids that were received. Usually what we do on these is take them under advisement. Dave will forward phone numbers to all of us to call references or check on them. I think all three of them are local companies that we've all had business with, or that the town's done business with before. He usually does look them over, make sure there's nothing that's been missed, and brings them back for advisement at our following meeting. I would need a motion in favor or opposed to doing that. Take it under advisement.
Make a motion that we allow Dave Moore to take the bids under advisement and report back at our next meeting.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Dustin Gray. Next item on the agenda is the cash reserve use. I don't know, do you guys want to go ahead and take care of everything else and say that for the end, or do you want to address it now?
It's second, let's go now.
Okay. Jeff, you'd asked my opinion, or I'd promised you that I would look over what, ways that we could spend or use or make better the town with the cash reserves. I'm still going to go with my gut feeling that we have the opportunity, because of where we're at with the cash reserves, to pay down, as I said before, the fire truck debt and the dispatch debt per state code. We can transfer up to 10% of our approved budget into a rainy day fund. Doing those three items, paying off those two bills and doing those three items would spend down our cash reserve $2,043,009. That does not include accrued interest from the initial date that I checked on the payoffs of those two. I kind of got that used against me on the police cars, because by the time we appropriated the money, we had a little more invested in those items. That does free up the Lowit money and the CCD money that we were using to make those payments. Those are monies that we can move items out of the general fund into those and free up general fund revenues and I will say, in trying to take care of our employees in a more sustained manner. Doing that at this point would bring our cash reserve at the end of this year, as long as we don't overspend our budget, to 55% on the general fund. And then it would also, following next year's, if we hit that target of a 3% increase for our 2022 budget, would put us at about a 52.3%. So that gets us back to where we were 5 years ago. I don't know if we do that now or do it after the second quarter to make sure that we are trending in the right direction now, and to make sure that we continue to trend in that direction. That's my thoughts. I promised you that I would do that, and that's what I've done. Comments from the council?
Can you break down that $2,043,000? How much to the fire truck? How much to the rainy day?
These were numbers that were accurate in January. So
That's fine.
the balance on the fire truck was $655,105. The balance on the dispatch equipment was $598,147. And the rainy day transfer is $789,757. Now, that, if we would do that, that would give, give me just a second here. That would give, our current rainy day fund is $328,632. That would give our rainy day fund a balance of $1,118,389, so $1.1 million. Depending on the state's continued formulation of the CCMG Community Crossings Matching Grant Fund that we're using for our streets and roads, and depending on how our population turns out per the 2020 census. Currently, we are just a tick below 10,000 people by census count in the 2010 census. The Community Crossings Matching Grant that we're going to open at less than 10,000 people give us an opportunity at a 75-25 match. So right now we're matching 25%. Depending on what these bids are here, we've talked about using our MVH restricted, which is an acceptable use. There is a Senate Bill 207 on that's still, I think, in reading that may free up that MVH restricted on things that we can do and even lower the percentage that we have to use or that we have to keep in that restricted fund. That said, in the past, the first year we did use some rainy day fund, or we budgeted some of our rainy day fund for our match. Because the first year that we participated, it was 50-50 no matter your population. They changed that afterwards. This would allow us, with that $1.1 million in there, that would allow us to continue, even if they go to a 50-50 match, that would allow us to continue to fund those projects and still have, not use all of our NVH restricted fund. That was my thought process on moving that to the rainy day fund, because we can budget it for, or specifically as the match on that grant.
What's the restrictions on the rainy day? I mean, if I have, let's just talk about rainy day money. If I have $789,000 and it's in cash reserves, or if it's in rainy day, to me it's still cash available. But what would the rainy day, what can it be used for? The cash reserves.
The rainy day can be used. The rainy day can be used on anything that's within the full budget.
The general?
No, the full budget. The park, the CCD,
Okay.
the MVH, and the general. And it is a non-reverting. It does not go back into any one of the funds. It stays there until we have to use it. We could use it if we had a horrible year on insurance. If we had a horrible year as far as a tragic fire, storm, something like that, to get up and running immediately on all of our departments.
Are we having any trouble making payments now?
No, we are not. We are paying interest now. And I think
Right.
we're paying interest at a greater amount than what we're earning interest like everyone else.
What are the payments that you'd be saving annually? Was it approximately, do you have that?
Yeah, we do. The payments on the fire truck are $103,930. And we did move that to our CCD fund. Now, if we pay, we have 7 payments left on that. If we pay those 7 payments, it gives us $727,510. If we pay it off as far as cash outright, it is $655,105. If we go down to the dispatch equipment, the payments on it are, we have 8 payments left on it, $91,725. That gives us a total of $733,800 if we make the payments, or $598,147 cash balance. Savings on the two of them at $208,058 over the period of time.
Over 8 months?
No, over eight years, over the payment.
8 years?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not to monopolize, to me, the 789,000, the rainy day and the general is a wash. I mean, I would support that. It's, we're not spending it, we're just moving it to another account
Mm-hmm.
anyway. The other two, though, I mean, I remember just a few weeks ago, a couple of months ago, board members from here on down told the public we couldn't spend $80,000 on bonuses because of COVID. I mean, I remember he asked to make sure if we had guarantees because he didn't want me to lay off people over $80,000. And now you're talking about getting rid of 1.1 million. I don't count the 789, so I don't.
But do you see that what happens there is that money is freed up in those other two?
Yes, I know what
Taxing
you're doing.
funds.
You're using that so you can have the future revenue. That's annual revenue.
Yeah.
You're using the savings to be able to do other things with it. But you told the public that we need to keep our cash because of the uncertainty of COVID. All three of you did. I mean,
I don't know that,
That
Shane,
wasn't the
you're,
only thing I said, Shane. Like always, you take things out of context and don't tell the whole story, so.
you asked me for guarantees, a
No, I said, does
signature.
anybody have guarantees of what's coming up? And I also said that I wasn't comfortable with it because there's a lot of people out here in our community that are out of a job and hurting, and it would be a slap in the face, I thought, to give.
So you think our public's jealous of a $1,000 bonus for good work? I don't think, I'm not that cynical. But you all three, Dustin said we need to keep every bit of cash, and that our financial advisor said we need to keep every bit of cash.
do you not see this as keeping our cash?
No, sir. No.
We've already spent this money. You do
You're
realize
making,
that.
you're
no
making
ma-
an annual payment that's very small, and you're giving away $1.1 million. It'll take you 6 years to get that cash saved.
Okay.
And COVID is right now. You told the public, all three of you. I don't know what, you were talking about lockdowns coming and all this stuff. I mean, I don't see how, if cash is the issue,
Shane,
once you spend it, it's gone.
did you hear what I said? Let's see what happens. I'm not saying to do this tonight. I know that we're going to have some. I promised Jeff that I would bring my proposal to the table. That's all I've done.
Can this money be used for reduce, if you want to reduce debt, can it be used to reduce sewer debt so we can lower our sewer rates back down a little bit?
So your sewer rates are a whole different ballgame. So when you look at the exercise you did to have the hearings and raise the rates, those rates are set, and then your bonds are tied kind of to those rates.
Could this money have been used for that though? To borrow less money on sewer? Because these people have told the public for a long time that we need to keep our cash reserves. That's the issue I had.
Yeah, I mean,
If the issue is keeping cash, don't tell the public we gotta keep the cash for $80,000. We could lay off people and then propose to spend 1.1 million. I'm fine with the 789 because it's saving, it's no different whether it's in this account or this account. But the 1.1 is gone. You're paying debt.
It's
right?
gone no matter what, though. You do see that, right? It is gone no
Yes,
matter
but
what.
it's, if I spend $5 a month, I can come up with $5 a month a lot easier than I can 10,000 a month. So you have a small payment going out here in comparison to the amount of money you're paying off. Rates are the lowest they've been in history. We're not having trouble making our payments. Normally I'd be for paying off debt like this, but not after you told the public that we have to be so careful, and I'm scared, literally, people up here said, I'm scared to death of what COVID's gonna do. You don't think so? Go back to the November meetings and
I
watch
know what
them.
I said.
Not you, Dustin said that.
That was also what I said, and I stick by it. I wouldn't vote for it tonight. I mean, the paying down this debt, I think we should wait just a little bit.
That's my 2 cents.
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense to me when you tell the public, we've got to keep the cash. But my question is, if we had told the public this 1.1 million was available, could we have borrowed less on sewer?
Yeah, if you use
Yeah, that's.
cash reserves towards that project, then yeah, it would have impacted.
I raised sewer rates on people and I don't think I had to. Because I believe, we had a department head, Dave Moore, he didn't submit year-end ideas because this board said we have to be extremely careful. You know, the year-end encumbrances, he didn't submit those, he could have, but he didn't because the messaging this board gave him, some other department heads did, but he didn't because we've been saying you've got to be fiscally conservative. And he did that, he believed us. But now we're talking about spending $1.1 million in cash during the pandemic. So I'm just using your logic. I don't know what to believe, to be honest, other than I think that we have, I normally would be for paying down debt, but tonight or even in the next few weeks, I would not be for getting rid of $1.1 million in cash after what you've told the public. I'm done.
Any other comments from the board? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the surplus fire equipment.
So we prepared the resolution. It is resolution 11/2021, which has the engine 14, squad 11, support 12, and the engine 13 listed as surplus. This has been in discussion with the fire chief, getting those surplus and then finding a way to dispose of that, whether it be through other agencies who are interested in it or not. So we said that we had the appropriate procedures under 5/22/22 to leave that open. So this is the first step of getting them declared surplus so that we can move to the next step of disposing of the property.
Matt, are you are planning on getting rid of 13?
No, I thought we decided not to do that at this point in time.
That's what I was under the impression.
Yeah, it was on the list, and I knew we talked about in the last meeting was the engine 14, the squad, and the pickup truck. So, I'm sorry, Jewel, I didn't inform you on that one. The number 4 should not have been on that.
So then what I would recommend, since this is a resolution anyway, would be, the first step would be to amend the resolution to remove engine 13 from the surplus list. And then once it's amended, then move forward with engine 14, squad 11, and support 12.
Do you need a motion?
Yeah, you'll have to move to amend the resolution to remove engine 13 from the surplus list.
Jeff, Shane, you're with the fire department. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm fine with her. If you don't want it to be on the list, I'm fine with removing it.
Yeah, I think that's what we kind of all discussed in the meetings prior, just keeping that one just for now until we move forward when we know that we're not going to need it for sure.
So do you want a motion to?
Admit?
Amend.
Okay, I'll make a motion to amend resolution number 11-21 to remove engine 13, correct? Okay.
Yes. Motion been made, do I have a second? Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Shane, Greg.
Aye.
So now the motion would be to pass the amended resolution 11/2021 to declare engine 14 squad 11 and support 12 as surplus items.
I would make that motion to pass resolution 1121, declaring engine 14, squad 11, support 12 surplus.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Shane, Jeff.
So will there be a new resolution prepared and signed next time, or do we sign this one and just initial it?
Strike it.
Yeah, you can just strike it and then, since it's the amended, and then sign it tonight. if you'd like, so.
Do we need to initial by the strike, or is this the
No,
president?
because the record has indicated that.
Okay.
That's it, for now, we'll be back. Next item on the agenda is the rezone ordinance on 140 Bridge Street. This is from our last meeting before. This was the rezone of the property there on Maple Lane and Bridge Street. It did come to the council as a positive recommendation and was passed. Today we have the ordinance in front of us, ordinance 2/2021. Or 2021. 2/21, that's it. I need a motion to either approve or deny ordinance 2.
Move to approve ordinance 2-2021, rezone 140 Bridge Street.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Aye. Well, that's what I was just looking at. It is pass over. I'm sorry.
Should have thought of that, sorry.
I was late on the trigger.
Gentlemen, I don't know if we want to hear this again at our next meeting. If we do, we can do that, or we can have a motion to suspend the rules and pass it on first reading, since it was
This was first reading? Oh, we need to open it up to the public though, correct?
No, so the public hearing was at
Okay.
the planning commission meeting. So the planning commission had a public hearing on the rezoning itself. They kept bringing it to you for favorable recommendation. Well, actually, this is a rezone, so this is actually a specific exception to that rule, because it says in the planning commission that at the next meeting, the council takes action to do it, or any subsequent meeting within the window of days. So
Okay, so it's passed.
it's passed.
We don't have to. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's my bad. It's the same thing as this one.
The next item on the agenda is the Rich Hart's Storage Units, Ordinance 3/2021. The history on this is we messed up. Don't know how else to explain it. On September 26, 2019, the Planning Commission sent with a favorable recommendation to the Town Council a rezone on the property out on 144. On November 5th, 2019, the Town Council accepted that recommendation and rezoned that property. Upon careful inspection afterwards, we did not pass an ordinance for it because we didn't have one prepared that evening. We went into December, and next thing you know, we missed it. We made a mistake. The process was done in correct manner. It was advertised. There was public hearing. There was a public hearing at the Planning Commission meeting, and then it did come to the council and was approved. Are there any questions that either I can answer or legal counsel?
So this is before I was even on the council.
It is. It is.
So technically, even if the council had not taken any action, because the plan commissioner made a favorable recommendation, after the 90 days, it would have been passed as if you had taken action. This ordinance is to clean up the record, just so you have a clean record to show that you actually did take action on November 5th, 2019, to adopt and accept the favorable recommendation. Because this one is a little bit different. It's not the straight statutory one of the next meeting or the subsequent meeting in that time frame. If you want to consider this and pass it on first reading, I would recommend that you have a motion to suspend the rules. That will have to be passed unanimously, and then the ordinance itself would have to be passed on by a 2/3 vote. So the rezoning has already taken place. This is just cleaning up the record.
I don't like voting on things that I wasn't there for or on council for. I know seems like a technicality, but still, I wouldn't do that for meeting minutes, because I wasn't there.
And I guess the tricky part here is that the zoning has already taken place. Now, if you don't want to consider it on first reading, we can just consider this the first reading, have it on the agenda for the next meeting for regular consideration, and it just has to pass by majority vote.
If the zoning's taken place, why do we have to vote now?
This is just cleaning it up. So that's why I'm saying if you want to consider it today, suspend the rules, do it that way.
Or you have to have unanimous to suspend the rules, or is it 4 of the 5?
No, you have to have unanimous to suspend the rules to consider it, and then it's got to pass by 2/3 vote.
Okay, storage units.
They were storage units that were surrounded by storage unit. It's just an additional. I think maybe you were here at that meeting.
I probably was in the audience.
Yes. Jeff, your comments?
Like Shane, I wasn't here, but if it's a technicality, it was here, it's just cleaning the language up or passing the ordinance that we didn't pass and everything's good for the legal, if that's what we need to do tonight, so be it. I don't like it.
Yeah.
And I don't like making mistakes, and
I understand
this was a mistake.
Well, it wasn't intentional, I get it.
And also, you don't have to pass it tonight. The zoning ordinance has already been technically approved. This is a cleanup ordinance. So if you want to just treat it as a first reading and then carry it over to your next meeting as your second reading, and then all it would need at that point is a majority vote.
Greg, your thoughts?
Well, for me, if the ordinance is already passed, the rezone is already in effect. Just to clean up things,
Well, I was here and voted for it, and so was Dustin. So I'm depending on you three to kind of jump in here and tell us what you would like to do.
if we need to hold it over till the next meeting so we can get a better idea of what they did, I have no problem with that.
Okay. So we still have to pass it tonight and then have a second reading?
No,
Or
you don't have
vote?
to,
Okay.
it'll just be first reading and then it'll come up again next meeting.
Okay,
So I'll just change the signature.
okay. Is that what we want to do? Do we want to we've looked this over, we want to have a second reading at our next meeting, we'll put it on the agenda and follow through. Can I have a motion in that paper? Well, I don't even need that.
You don't
We'll
need
just do
that.
it. Okay. And again, to the three of you that weren't here, I apologize. It was a mistake. Next item is to set a time frame for the employee handbook. I don't know if we've all had a chance to read it, if anyone has more. I know Jeff had talked about maybe talking to Kevin. I don't know if everyone's talked to their department heads, or if we want to bring it back with any changes that we may have and then take it to them. But do we want to do that at our next meeting, or do we want to do it at the first meeting in April, as far as us to get a grasp on where we're at and then take it, like you said, Jeff?
I still stand where, for one, I haven't had time to tackle it, with other adventures coming up that's going to be time consuming. I don't know when I'm going to be able to get to it. I'm not in favor of taking anything from our employees. So if we need to just get it to legal and have them bring us up to speed legally with what we have compared to this new book, I'd be in favor of that. We've talked about a little bit about that. I definitely want our department heads to have input in it. They should have time to look at that in our court treasurer's office. But as far as like putting it on the agenda, I don't know when that would be good. I want to make sure. I have not had time to talk to Kevin about it. We've met briefly before, but not here recently about it, but that's where I'm at with it.
Okay. Is there anything that you do have that you want to go ahead and at least get started on, as far as we individually, we can email back and forth to anyone as long as it's not within the five of us, if we have amendments or changes that we are definitely concerned about. Is that correct?
So as long as you don't have three on that,
Okay.
because that would constitute a quorum.
Okay. Shane, your thoughts?
I kind of agree with Jeff on this one. Have you had department heads had an opportunity to submit like when you've reviewed your sections, have you submitted your concerns, questions, clarifications to anybody yet?
One thing that I voiced was when I was here in council, I have a whole handbook highlighted and all the things that I have some serious issues with. But I've not been approached by the council as far as us having a meeting and discussing that as a whole, a committee or whatever.
Yeah, I think that something needs to happen along those lines. I don't know if it's where they submit them to the president, their list, and there's a workshop to address those items, or what? I don't know how you go about it.
I don't think a list is just what we need. I would personally like face to face.
I'll sit down and talk to him. That'll be good.
Do what?
I'll be happy to. That'll be great. I'll sit down and talk to you. That'll be good. Okay. We'll report back. I'll report back to you at our next meeting.
Are you going to meet with every department head or just Kevin?
No, I'm going to try to meet with all of them.
Okay.
Do you want to?
And
You probably want more time than that, then, don't you?
yeah. Let's go. I will at least give you a report at our first meeting in April.
Okay.
That'll work. New business. Overton and Sons tax abatements, they're CF1s. We actually have 3 of them for them. We're just going to tackle these in the order that they were given. The first one is for Resolution 6, 2017. If you take a look at that, everything that they had said on their SB1s, they were able to accomplish, other than, and I think this has been kind of a struggle for them as far as finding good qualified help that wanted to stay in one spot. If you looked at their statement of benefits, said that they were going to spend $94,153, and they did. It did say that they had, at that time, they had 50 employees, and that they were going to attempt to hire 1 with this investment, and it looks like maybe they have lost 2 total, bringing them down. I still believe that they keep an ad all the time looking for help. Mike, if that's false, you can tell me, but their investment is right where it should be.
Their salaries are way up too. So even though they have less people, they're paying several $100,000 more in salaries
Yes.
than they said they would.
Comments or concerns? Do I have a motion on accepting the CF1 for Resolution 6, 2017?
And it'll be finding them either in substantial compliance,
Okay,
not in substantial compliance, or something like that.
not accepting, but correct. I apologize. Comments from the board?
I think they're in compliance, other than the number of employees, but again, they're making up with salaries, they're paying a lot. So just make that a motion.
Yeah. So the motion would be, if that's what you want to make, is that you would find Overton Industries in substantial compliance with Resolution 6, 2017.
Okay, I'll make the motion to fine Overton Industries in substantial compliance with Resolution 6-2017.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion been made and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The next one's going to be Resolution 1, 2019. A similar scenario. Obviously, when they made this investment of $348,000, they were hoping to get 4 new employees, and they did not. They are still at their 49 employees. So the estimate on the statement of benefits was $348,190, and they did meet that goal. Comments or questions? Do I have a motion?
Salaries are still up higher than what they said.
Mm-hmm.
This the one on the personal property?
Yes, this one is personal. I believe all of these are personal property. Yes,
Oh.
all these are equipment. Do I have a motion to find them in substantial compliance or in violation?
I'd make a motion to find Overton in substantial compliance, and this would be Resolution 220, right?
No,
1.
1 of 2019.
Yeah.
Trying to find. let me rephrase it, let me look, make sure I'm looking at the right one, I'm sorry.
I think in the email packet, it was actually behind the one that's to 2020. And so,
Okay, so they're out of order. There it is, sorry. Okay, they still are, their salaries still are up on this one as well. So I would make the motion then to approve, or to find Overton in substantial compliance with Resolution 1-2019.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Shane, Jeff, aye. Now we have Resolution 2-2020. There was an estimated cost of a proposed project of $140,000. They met that goal. Again, they're struggling on the employee base, but I still think that is something that they are constantly trying to rectify.
Mr. President, may I address that quickly for you?
Who are you?
My name is Mike Dellinger, and I'm with the Morgan County Economic Development Corporation. I would just like to remind the council and the public that these are 6-year tax abatements. So in year 0 or 1, they might not see the new job creation that they anticipated, but they might see that during the latter years of the abatement. So don't be surprised in these instances that they might not have met the job creation at the moment, because it is a multi-year period that they committed to. So I hope that helps to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you.
This one's the same way, salaries are up. So do you want a motion?
Yes, please.
I would make the motion to find Overton Industries in substantial compliance with Resolution 2-20.
Motion been made, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded, all in favor? Aye. Shane Gregg. 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a rezone of North Bethel Road. We have a representative here tonight.
John Hesselman, representing the Smith Trust for the rezone from agricultural to I-2 at 10377 North Bethel Road. And I brought some information to share if you'd like to.
Okay.
For me to.
I think this is the same as what we're going to do.
The top page, I've got the application, and then basically the bottom kind of summarizes the existing zoning on the surrounding properties. Then, second sheet, then that's the property, the surveyed property. And then we have the legal description for the property. And then our narrative, basically our narrative is to rezone the property. Then we looked at the zoning change and then how to support the zoning change. And then we got the map, the Florida Smith Trust property, the vicinity map, which should orient you then to where the property's at. It's along the east side of Bethel Road. And yes, and then just west of Flagstaff Business Park. And then next we have the aerial map, which gives you a little idea, or better picture of the development around there and the uses around there currently. The property then was annexed into the town by ordinance 3 in 2005. And then the next section is a few pages from the comprehensive plan, the 2009 comprehensive plan for the town of Mooresville. The next sheet then shows an industrial park critical sub-area highlighted in yellow at the lower portion of your page, and we are in that critical sub-area, industrial park. The next page then shows an expanded view of that industrial park critical sub-area, and we are in the purple area, and which is designated for industrial. And then, as we step through, then the next kind of event or so on that has happened with the property is the Mooresville Redevelopment Commission and their 2015 Economic Development Consolidation Plan added the property into the new acquisition list, which on the next page I highlighted or starred the new acquisition list, which is Exhibit A2. And then on Exhibit A2, I've indicated the parcel that we're talking about. The Phil Smith Irrevocable Living Trust property. And then the last page is the last page of the Mooresville TIF additions, and we are in an acquisition, added to the acquisition list, and we're in the green area shown on that exhibit. So everything kind of is leading us to this at this point in time. And, we feel this is a good use of the property to make the transition from agriculture to I2.
Are there any questions for John?
The property is annexed, as you said. They voluntarily annexed it in, correct?
Yes, it was annexed in 2005, I'm sorry. Yes.
That's in the packet.
Yeah, it was just after the pictures, I think. There's an aerial on the...
Was the recommendation unanimous to?
No, I think there was one dissenting vote.
Okay, okay.
Any questions of John? This is, the public hearing for this is actually the Planning Commission meeting. However, in the past and continuing, is there anyone in the public that would like to speak either for or against this? Come on up and state your name.
My name is Joshua Hebron. I own the property directly across the street.
Josh,
on Bethel Road.
I apologize. What is your last name?
Hebron, H-E-A, V as in Victor, R-I-N as in November.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Like I said, I own property 10108 North Bethel Road, directly across the street from the property. I'm just here to request you guys deny this change. The land that I own, and I actually got from my mother so I could come live in the town that I grew up in, right? And I know this all boils down to tax money, creating jobs, right? I understand that, but that's a society out there. We're farmers. Everybody out there has been farmers for over 200 years. We can track the ownership of our farm, like I said, right across the street, back pre-Mooresville. We got the land in 1816 to build the farm on. It's been in our family ever since. If you guys approve this, you're automatically taking a 25% knock off of our property value by switching to industrial. Depending on what he chooses to build, and they can't tell us what they're gonna build it for. They don't know who they're gonna sell to. They don't know what's getting built on there. Depending on what it is, you might knock off 40%, according to multiple real estate experts that I talked to. This isn't a little thing, it's a big deal. I just, like I said, I would implore you just what Mooresville is. We're a farming community, we're an agricultural community. We're not industrial. And I would caution you on the flips you're gonna make and the changes you're gonna make to the town, searching for tax money. Because you guys can pick multiple towns across the state of Indiana that have done stuff like this. 10 years later, that business leaves. And then you have empty property not being used. It generates high crime. Nobody wants to live around there because property values go in the tank. This is a good way to ruin a town. So I would just caution you to think about that when you're making your decision.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Are there any comments from the council?
One of the things I think, when you have the comprehensive plan, it was put into place in 2009, designating this area. And I sympathize with what you say, I do. But in my view, the time to fight it was then. I do think the comprehensive plan is so old, it needs to be updated. But the only thing I would say, I'm not trying to argue with you because I know it's your family property. I've been here a long time. My family's been here a long time, so I sympathize with that. I like a small town feel myself. So you probably don't want to hear it, but I just thought I would say this to you. As far as the property value, if you annexed yours in and turned it back industrial, your value per acre would go way up. Have you ever considered that? Yeah, I just wanted to ask you if you had considered that.
We've considered it, yeah, but it goes back to what we are, who Mooresville is. We're not trying to turn a quick buck.
Right.
We're not chasing the almighty dollar.
I totally get the
We're
point
trying
that
to-
it's a family thing.
We're trying to maintain a heritage. And, I don't know. But with all due respect, for someone to say, have you thought about how much money you could make if you flip it to industrial? It's kind of smack in the face. Because it's not something that we got off an auction 10 years ago.
Right.
It's not something we just up and said, hey, you know what, let's go be farmers.
I understand. I understand what you're saying. Don't think I don't hear what you're saying. I do. That's all I had. I just wanted to have a little dialogue there.
Okay, so before us is a positive recommendation from the Planning Commission. I need a motion to either accept or reject the recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Make a motion to accept the recommendation from the Planning Commission.
Have a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, Bill. Dustin Gray. Next item on the agenda is the Community Crossings grant bids. Review this item. we do have, because we've made a mistake, Diane is trying to keep us on our toes. She does have an ordinance for 2021 accepting the revamp.
You already took action on it, so I think you're,
So do we need a motion to accept? Or is that?
I think the action that you took, accepting the area plan recommendation, that is the acceptance of the zoning map change itself.
Okay. Do I need to sign anything?
Yeah, you can do that later.
Help you with me. Next item on the agenda is opening of the community crossing matching grant. Gentleman from Fanning pointed out to me that there is a bid form, and at page 7 is the magic page. The first bid is from the Harding Group. Van, you're telling me that the page 7, that is the dollar amount right there. There. Sorry, my bad.
It's in the box.
Okay. The first bid is from the Harding Group. It is $618,141.18. Why would it be two?
Came out of this envelope.
I thought it would. I got my
Oh, wait, no.
This may be the.
Oh, that means all the supporting documents. And insurance information.
I'm not sure. You know, really wasn't read it if I had a letter. Yep, this is their consolidated financial statement.
Keep that stuff together.
Hey, remember, next time we do it. The next bid is from E&B Paving. E and B. And their bid is $769,779. Next bid is from Grady Brothers Incorporated. And their bid is $750,636. 750,636. The next one is Baumgartner and Company Asphalt. That's odd. They have theirs broken down. They have C supplement sheet. Look on page 7. This is where it was. See attached supplement, and they have it broken down by road. But they do have it. They do have a total for the project.
I'll just read the total.
Okay. Baumgartner and Company, they have theirs actually broke down by road, and their total is $648,645. Did I give you the envelope, or did I keep it? Just in case. I'm not sure that that's a bid. We in there was a packet, and it was addressed to,
That's not a bid.
is
That's
this?
mail. Yeah, that's not a bid.
This is not. Okay.
I don't believe so. It wouldn't be addressed to you, would it?
I don't know.
Well, you might want to open it up to be sure. I didn't know what it was.
Oh, it's from the census. No,
Okay.
it's not.
We all got one.
Okay, it was just here, I'm sorry. I was hoping it was a bid for like 400,000.
Charitable trust.
Okay, we received 4 bids. As always, we take these bids under advisement. We will let Dave and Banning Engineering look over these and come back with a recommendation. Are there any questions from the council? Is that acceptable to take those under advisement? I guess I should have asked that first. That's what we've always done in the past.
Can I just ask a quick question?
Please.
Can you, this is the first time I've been through the process to award bids for a community crossing grant. This was a $1 million grant, correct? Well, it's $999,999.75.
We just left money on the table.
So what happens then? Does the town still have to match this?
What we'll have to do is we'll have to match, if we accept any one of them. Any one of those, we will have to pay out of our MVH restricted, I assume. We'll have to pay 25% of whatever that is. And the rest of it is left on the table.
So we didn't have enough roads to the...
What we usually do is with Banning's help, they go through and they pick all the roads with the pacer scale, and say, okay, these are the roads that are the most important for you to do. They conservatively estimate the cost of what those roads would be, and that's what we put it in. The state looks at it as, hey, we see what these roads are, this is what you're conservatively estimating it, because maybe if we had waited 2 more months to advertise these bids, these bids may come in twice that much. The last thing that you want to do is not take advantage of it. Let's say that we put in there that we're going to do more than that, and they give us the $1 million, we match our $333,000, and then we only do, or we only do 20,000 or 200,000 of that is not on their list. As far as we don't do the full list, then they get a little testy about that. They want you to do the full list that you submit. Banning has done an outstanding job, even though I was angry the first year before they explained it to me, of leaving money on the table. And in this case here, we just don't get it. This is a in and out funding. Once we get billed for it, we request it, and they will send us the funding. That big cardboard check, we can't deposit the $1 million yet. So it is bad, but it's also bad to I guess underestimate. And then because if let's say that the jobs had come in and the bids had been $1.7 million instead of 1.33, and we didn't have that $7 million or $700,000 to fund it, then that would have reflected poorly on us also.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
that's why I asked on that first bid of 618,000. Are you sure it's just line 7?
We'll check it.
We'll check it. They're usually pretty close. That's a little off, but it may be the timing. We may have got real lucky.
Yeah, it's very possible.
And I need a motion to take these bids under advisement.
Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
As far as the quotes go, how long are they holding their prices?
I think they all know that we do have them under recommendation. And usually, help me out here, do we usually ask for 60 days?
I believe it's 60 days, but it is listed in the bid form how long.
Okay,
So-
because I know with petroleum prices going crazy,
Yeah.
our materials we use, they're not guaranteeing prices past 2 weeks.
I think we should, if everything goes right, we should be able to award the bid at our next meeting, shouldn't we?
Okay. I just wondered about that.
Okay.
Do you want a motion?
Please.
I'll make the motion to take the community crossing grant bids under advisement, allow further review, and then come back to the next meeting.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Shane Gregg, 5-0. Next item on the agenda is our Steve Oshman, Mooresville Public Library Conflict of Interest Disclosure Sheet. I think last year Steve had actually bid on something and won the bid, was low bid, and then they came to us after the fact. This one here is as an annual disclosure. It comes to us because he is the town council's appointment to the Mooresville Public Library Board. Are there any comments or concerns on this?
So is this for his role with the library?
Yes, this is for his role with the library, because what's going to happen here is this will allow him to bid on any and all contracts for either services or equipment at the library.
Because he has their IT services currently, doesn't he?
I'm not sure that he does. I don't know if he has their IT service or if he was just, last time I thought it was that he had, last time I thought he sold them some equipment when he came before us. Well, it says to include but not limited to a contract for hours of service, purchase of equipment, and research of services. Doesn't show that he has the contract, but it can include the contract. It is as an annual rather than a single purchase disclosure. What is our role in this?
your role is, because you're the appointing agency, that he's got to place you on notice so that you are comfortable with keeping him in that position with this conflict of interest statement. This statement then has to be uploaded to SBOA. I don't know if you're going to handle that, Diana. or- And then also needs to be filed with the clerk of the Morgan County Court. So it's on file there. Essentially, all of those steps keep him from facing the penalty of a possible felony if it is, if he doesn't do this.
This was approved last year, correct?
Yeah, but last year was on one purchase. It was on a contract on a purchase of equipment, and he just actually, I think he just said, hey, I think I can get it cheaper than that, and he come back and said, yeah, look here.
And so the process there is, if you do not have an annual disclosure on file, then when there is a sale, you have to file within 15 days, the conflict of interest disclosure. So that my guess is that's what happened on that one. The only thing I will say about this form is, I think this is an old form, because it still references it as a Class D felony. I think they've changed the whole felony.
All these are level 5 number.
Yeah, so we're 1 through 6 now. And so I think it'll suffice to put everybody on notice, but I'm not sure where this form.
Do you think we should send it back to him to get the proper form?
No, I think you can accept it because it's still 3544-1-1-4 for the conflict of interest issue. It is, and it has all the information that is needed on it. My recommendation is that you take action on this, get it uploaded to protect him in case something comes down before they can fix it and go that way. And then if you want to file an updated form, then we can just upload that later and put that on file. This conflict of interest notice and statement is the same information that you're going to get on a new one.
We could not deny it and just say he has to give everything to the library
You could do that.
for free.
I think you probably will lose a part or two library board.
Yeah, I don't know if they get $50 a meeting or how much they get a meeting. Comments?
I have no issues with it.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Let's give another chance for comments, but
Okay.
it can be, yes.
Okay. Shane, you're up next. Comments?
Everybody got my questions answered, so
Greg?
as long as Julie's okay with approving it as is.
I am.
Okay.
Dustin, any comments?
None.
Now can I have a form of a motion?
Motion to approve Steve Oshman's conflict of interest form for the Mooresville Public Library.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jeff, Greg, 5-0. Next item on the agenda is a late add-on from, and I have no idea where that paper got to. Do you? From Conoco?
The what?
Oh, from the Conoco. The next item was the Conoco spray solution proposal. I think we all need to sign this, don't we? Did you say that we all need to sign this here?
Actually, I think you only need one because you're going to sign this as president of town council.
Okay.
Because you took
Next item on the agenda was laid out on by Dave Moore. He had been working with some contractors, and one specifically, on the spray lining of some of our manhole covers, or manholes. This, as a community, we are in the operating under an agreed order with the wastewater treatment plant, just because of issues that we have, like every other community, with inflow and infiltration. This was something that we had tried a couple of years ago. Dave had worked on trying to find someone to do it last year. Because of the confined space, close quarters, they weren't doing much work on it with this last year because of the COVID. They have come out and said that they will do that at this point. They will go ahead and start spraying our spraying our manholes, and that seals them up from the inflow and infiltration during heavy rains. And looking at this, this gives us, and I thought he had said that this was 14 manholes, and I don't see it on there because they're giving it as dimensions as far as the vertical feet. But the total bill on it is $19,346. This is something that we have put in our reports to IDAM on what we're trying to do in reducing the inflow and infiltration. And this would go a long ways towards satisfying them that we are making an attempt to do this. We did this in 2019. I think we did 13 at that point in time, similar pricing. And we were able to, we spent that out of food and beverage fund because that is a improvement to our wastewater treatment plant. Dave was out of town. He did call and kind of in a panic because he was trying to get something done on this. Since we finally got a company that said, hey, we can start on this immediately.
Do we know what percentage of, like, is this a lot of manholes? You know,
No, well, I think it was 14 is what it was. I think it was above what we had done in 2019. And I think what he's trying to do is just, where they're inspecting and seeing a lot of inflow, not all of our manholes have to be done.
Okay.
What we're seeing is some that were originally brick and mortar manholes, some of the original ones, and then we're also seeing some of them that because of earth settling, ground cracking, and everything like that, they can go back in. In 19, the estimate to replace the manhole versus spray this in, the estimate was almost 10 times the price. They were looking between $8,000 and $10,000 a piece to replace a manhole. By the time you had all the digging, the infrastructure, the spec-built manholes, because now at that point in time you can't just say, hey, I'm going to put a hole here and a hole here. You actually spec those out to where they go right back in where the existing pipes is. You're not laying the pipe at the same time.
This method works well.
It does work. It works. It has worked extremely well. This was part of, when we did this part of it, we also did the West Side Interceptor that goes back behind the Old Village Shopping Center down there, and that's where they went in and steam sealed that main, and that has been an outstanding improvement. It is a catch-22. The wastewater treatment plant does need water to operate. It gets its fair share of water from normal use. However, in a real dry summer, when you don't see inflow and infiltration, or once we get it all tapped out of there, what you see is ammonia levels start to raise in your discharge water. So we have to be very careful there.
But if you have the opposite problem with too much water, you're out of guidelines with IDEM anyway, getting
Exactly.
reports anyway.
Exactly.
Plus you're treating water you don't need to treat.
We get a 5-inch rain event or 4-inch rain event here in the town of Mooresville, and it overloads our system. So this is trying to achieve repairing, refurbishing, rehabilitating our existing equipment.
And Dave and picked these, or
Yes.
IDEM's been working with Dave to pick these?
Dave has been working with these people and is very satisfied with their work.
I'm all for sewer infrastructure, and whatever we can do to make things better. It's what towns do.
The one comment I will make is, my recommendation would be to accept this and allow me to put together a contract for execution. I mean, you can pass it, we can go, but there are a couple things on it.
Okay,
The
yep.
date is March 26th, and so technically, I think he dated his proposal for the wrong date, but it might cause problems if State Board of Accounts pulls this one. And
Okay.
so we can create the contract, have them get the green light on it, and then we can have all the proper language in it, and we'll just have it for execution.
Yeah, this looks more like a work order to me than a contract. Need a motion, or do you
Yes.
need more discussion?
Motion and funding tools, motion and with funding mechanism, if you would. As far as food and beverage, I don't know where else we could pay it from, but
Yeah.
So it was just a motion to accept this proposal, or to get, because I didn't know what Jill was saying about everything.
Yeah, I would have the motion to accept the proposal with final contract to be created, and then we can just get that done and have it over for Tom's signature for whenever. But then we can give them the green light to proceed on it. It's just, we need to
And
have
we
a
don't have to
contract.
put it out for bids.
no.
No, at
no.
this level, no, it's a service and it's under the bidding requirements, so.
We have, let me see if this number agrees with what you agree with. That we have 1.731 million in food and beverage.
Mhm.
And the total, this is 19,346.
Yes.
Do you, I'll make the motion to move forward with Conco Spray Solutions for $19,346 to be paid out of food and beverage, and with the attorney preparing a contract.
Well worded.
What's that?
Well worded, yes.
I didn't hear you.
I said that was well worded. You
Oh,
covered
thank you.
everything.
Thank you.
Motion made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Nothing, I'm just kidding. Department heads, or hang on to that, he's going to get us another one. Next item on the agenda is report from the department heads. Don't everyone jump at once.
So the stats for last month was 96 EMS runs, we had 10 fire calls, 32 other calls, about 15 inspections. Tonight, I asked our two new hires if they would stand. John Offenbecker and Sean Gowan is our two new hires that we just hired for you guys to recognize and be seen. So other than that, I have nothing else.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Love you guys.
I just have a couple things. Clerk Walmsley assisted us yesterday this morning, our 3 new officers. It was a good time by all, at least a bunch of young kids. They were all 23. Our new server, we have everything, I know I've talked to Councilman more than about some other issues we have, but our new server is up and running. We have our new filament on it, and it's running smoothly right now, that part of it. Councilman Cook and Beth Copeland, we've all been working together about giving the service weapon to retirees with 20 years of service or more. We've created a document, well, Beth has created a document. I think the only thing she is working on a document as far as how the town would incur that cost of the firearm is what I was led to believe. Has she discussed anything with that with you?
We haven't talked about that issue. I mean, the cost of the firearm is really spent at the beginning when you have that option to assign that.
Correct.
You buy the arm.
And I was just thinking that would be eaten out of my budget, basically, which
basically
I
the
totally fine with. I
budget.
just want to make sure we're covered legally on what we're doing.
Yeah, you would have to buy a new service arm, but what we would do is we would declare that weapon with its ID surplus.
So would I do that at next town board meeting, just bring all that documentation?
Yeah, or if you want to shoot.
I have the documentation now, actually, for each service weapon.
Okay, well, do you know each one that you want to award?
Yes, I got them all right here.
Okay, well then, yeah, we can, if you have that.
I've got them all filled out. They're not signed because we haven't got with them yet, but these have all of the serial numbers and what the firearms are.
Do you have it electronically then? So those are your original forms. If you want to just shoot me the serial numbers and things like that.
Yes, I can do all that.
Okay, just
Do
shoot.
you want me to do them verbally for you now, or just shoot all that stuff to you?
Just email it to me and then
Okay.
we can get it all typed.
I can do that.
Easy.
Was there any questions on that? Okay. The next thing I have, I've been wanting to do some revisions to our reserve ordinance, which is ordinance 3-2000. What I discovered was, whenever I was doing this, there is an ordinance that basically lines out that whole reserve program. Well, our standard operating procedures is exactly word for word what that document is. So in order to change anything in the SOP, I have to change the ordinance. What I was wanting to do, and that was with council's permission, or the council's permission, is maybe amend that to where we have the, basically, where it creates the reserve program, but then take out a lot of the qualifications, a lot of the stuff we do, which is all that covered for all of our full-time officers, because they have to do the same thing we do, minus the full academy. They have to have a 40-hour pre-basic, they have to go attend some reserve program, and some of the stuff that is in that ordinance has not been fully done in the past when selecting reserves. I would like to clean that up. And if I could either get with Beth or with Chul, I'd like to clean that up and prepare a new ordinance. For one, it gives me a little more latitude in the SOP and just streamlines that ordinance.
Wouldn't his attorney, Charles Braun, and his board need to approve an SOP first, and then us just mirror that? Because I think that's how it was done in 2000.
Yeah, so a couple different ways. So the SOP should be approved by the mayor, the town Metropolitan Commission of Police Commissioners. And then once that's done, then you can amend your ordinance to do that. But technically, as the police chief, we would serve as the chief's attorney. So what we could do is we can work with the chief to work on those SOPs and then present it to the Metropolitan Police Commission, and then Charles Braun can review it at that and advise the Metropolitan Police Commission as to whether or not they want to accept that, and then bring it back.
But Charles Braun's already paid for it.
Well, again, I will let you know when I'm going outside of the retainer. This
Okay.
falls under the retainer, so you
Okay.
don't have to worry about that.
So just email it back and forth with you and we'll come up with something. Sounds good to me. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think there's any more department heads here. Our next item on the agenda is legal counsel.
I don't have anything to update the council with at this time.
Our next item on the agenda is public comments. Is there anyone from the public that wants to get up and speak? We did have someone sign in. We had a Randy Brown. Come on up, Randy.
I picked the wrong council meeting because this is longer than the
Our last one was 3 minutes.
So I just have a couple of real quick comments. But this is Mooresville, the home of the Indiana State flag, and I noticed and maybe I did notice an Indiana state flag flying on Indiana and Main Street and stuff during some holidays and things. I do see our national flag flying, but I'd like to see more emphasis in Mooresville on our state flag being flown. And for one particular reason, it's kind of a personal reason, but I think some people in DC think they don't recall that we're a union of sovereign states, and they seem to think we're some sort of provincial government. And so I like to emphasize our state in Amendment 9, Amendment 10 of the U.S. Constitution says that really the state government is our primary form of government as we live here in Indiana and other states as well, even more so than the national government. I'm a veteran and I'm a patriot, but I would like to see, my comment is, I would like to see us fly more Indiana flags in Mooresville during national or state holidays and that sort of thing. And so that's my comment there. And then another thing, I see the house across from Carlisle Branson that burned, and there's 2 people unfortunately killed. I remember the house in Monrovia on Chestnut Street, the Bedford Stone house that burned, and I think it must have been sitting there for like 8 years or something like that. Unbelievable long time. And so I'm asking if the city can, I'm sure it's kind of probably an insurance thing and law and court cases and everything, but I'm wondering if we could do anything to remedy that situation and get that eyesore out of our town, along with some other properties around town that are not being kept. And I don't like the heavy-handed government coming down on anybody, property owners or whatever, but if you own property, you ought to keep it up. And I'm thinking there are several houses or several properties around Mooresville that aren't being maintained properly. So that's all I had, just a couple of comments for you to consider as the topic may come up. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you. I think we are addressing the one that you brought up. It is, we have had legal counsel working on it. Is there anyone else, public comments? Please come up.
My name is Oksana Owens. I stood here about 10 months ago, almost to the date, and it was about I would like to speak to point 3B, cash reserve use. Back when I came here, it was about the increase of our utility rates, sewage rates, and the maps and everything here, and it was COVID, and politically correctly everything was explained. And we talked about poor planning back then, why the rates had to jump up 50%, almost 49 to be, and they did. Here's the bill compared to my last year bill, exactly 49%, why not? I was almost the only one, there were a couple other gentlemen, they were mostly complaining about the sprinkler. And I was happy to find out that there is a sprinkler credit, at least that part was addressed. So my question is, I guess, what is the financial advisor's, I'm assuming you have a financial someone. So now we have excess cash reserve to use. What's their advice, or has they given you advice? How to use that money?
I think on that there, what I can say is, we're kind of charged with trying to be good keepers of the gold for everyone. And we're trying to, we do have differences of opinion sometimes. And we do look at what we can and can't do. In years past,
we couldn't, and the rates had to be raised 49%. And again, people only realize that when it happens, and then they start complaining on Facebook. But again, like even then, they don't show up to the meetings to talk about it. Well, I guess when did those match? But anyways, it's just the rates should have been raised that high. And it sounds to me that the financial advisor was used back then to come up with the rates too. So they made a mistake. First of all, the town of Mooresville should have planned a little bit better because the rates haven't been risen in a long time. That was one, and we agreed 10 months ago about that. Second, the financial advisor made some kind of mistake because now we have cash reserves that $1 million worth of cash reserves that should have not been borrowed then. And our rates would have been lower then.
So I can address some of them. I'm not the financial advisor, but I've worked with
And
them.
now we don't even know like what their plan is.
Well, I've worked with several communities. So here, generally speaking, the way it works is when you look at a municipally owned utility, it is technically a separate entity and they have a different accounting and different fund. And so they have their balances and their dollars. They have to be able to operate by themselves with the funding that they have. So the expansion of the sewer project had to be funded out of the rates that are charged the sewer, for the sewer. Now, what we didn't know 10 months ago, because we were starting the COVID thing, is where the town would be. If the town would have had and known that it had extra cash, they could have offset some of those costs, possibly for the utility expansion itself. But at the end of the day, the utility has to be able to make all of the debt service payments based upon its rates. So even the bonds themselves, when you talk about the utility rates, they are called a user fee bond or a rate bond. When you talk about the bonds that the town will take out outside of the utility, it's called a general obligation bond because that comes from the property taxes. So generally you want to keep those separated and the utility can operate in good standing. What you have in the excess money that is sitting here in the general fund is, what it says is that the town has operated in a fashion to be efficient to build up a cash reserve.
I mean, that's great. I appreciate that. But at the same time, to me, I mean, it's like, it sounds like it's a constant battle, though, like as if there is lack of planning and it doesn't look good. I mean, you can disregard those comments, obviously, because no one comes. But still, I mean, it's just upsetting.
I rarely disagree with the town attorney in front of them in a meeting, but 10 months ago, we did know we had 3.6 million in cash reserves. At the end of the year, we added another 720,000 to the cash reserves because we had an actual budget surplus. So now we have more like 4.3 million in cash reserves. But all throughout this council's been telling the public that we gotta be scared of COVID to the point that they wouldn't even spend $80,000. So I tend to agree with you.
It just looks bad, and
It does to me, too, but.
Is there anyone else? Motion for approval of payment of claims.
Make a motion, we approve claims in the amount of $825,244.75.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Dustin Gray, 5-0. Town council comments. Jeff.
I just wanted to find out where we're at. I guess I kicked the cash reserve stuff off last year, so you can blame me. I've been shot down twice trying to get our employees something. It was put back on your lap. You said you were going to get back with me. I haven't heard from anybody. Where are we at with that? Are we going to tell our employees no? Or are you still working on that?
Jeff, what I was looking at was, I thought that's what we were addressing with the cash reserves, how we were going to spend it, what we were going to do from there. What
What do you mean?
Your proposal, which was a moving target, it was 5,000, 2,000. It was 2,000 for the civilian, and it was 1,000 across the board.
We were just trying to get them something, and then it turned down to, last I heard was 4 days. 4 days vacation, or 4 extra days they could take off.
Well, and you know, in talking, talking to the department heads, they were saying, one of them made the comment that, hey, I need more people because I can't staff it with what we have as far as vacation. And I'm not taking that away from them, but what I'm looking at is a way to make sure that we can do a sustainable
Which
raise.
department head?
We'll talk about that afterwards. We'll talk about that afterwards because it's just going to be used against him by his whole department. But what he said was he was having trouble staffing the department because we had time off. And you did say
It shouldn't be a problem in any department. So I'd like to talk to that department.
I think we've had a hiring freeze now since you were on there the last time. We really haven't built up our staffing any.
Right, there hasn't been an issue since then that I'm aware of.
That's what he
Sounds
said.
like they
He
need
said,
to reorganize
if
versus-
we start in with all the department getting another week off, that was the comment.
Okay, and my comment to that is that department head needs to reorganize
Okay.
because everybody has enough staffing to take time off.
Okay. Well, and
So is the answer, I mean, what are we going to tell them? Because
Jeff-
I've got people asking me.
let me ask you this. We had, and I think maybe you or Shane requested it, as far as a historical view of the cash reserves. 2011, 22%. 2012, 25%. 2013, 21%. 2014, 25%. Did you intentionally spend that, because you were on that council then, did you intentionally spend that below the 25%? Or was it because the times were tough?
Times were tough.
Okay. So that was my fear right there, because I knew that you went through some tough times in that 8 years. 2008. I knew you went through that. And that's what I kept saying. How tough is it going to get? How tough is it going to get? Because what you had then was unforeseeable. Times were good prior to that. And then all at once, we have a tremendous downfall in the economy. And it's not what happens that year. It's the way that the state calculates how we get our money off of the past history. You know it. You lived it. 21%. We were below what the recommendations are. It's not something, like you said, you didn't do it intentionally. It just happened. And that's what drives my fears. It wasn't anything that you did intentionally. You asked me then, why don't I want to give anything back to the public or to the employees? I want to give back to the employees. If you look at our records from the first time I was on there, I think they averaged about $1,100 a year in raises. The 8 years you were on there is about $670, and then it's been $1,100 since. What I want to do is I want to give them something that's sustainable that we can continue to do, that they can take to the bank and say, look what I'm going to make next year. And that $81,000 that you're talking about would give every one of our employees a $1,000 raise and give us the opportunity, because that money is there now, give us the opportunity to be able to sustain that and the next one the following year. If the COVID is over, like half the news media is telling us, then we ought to be able to see our way out of this probably in 2023. That's when we'll start to see this back. Because what's going to happen is it's going to be the average off the last 2 years of non-farm related incomes. And that's where my fears are. It's not something you did. It's not something I did. It's what happened. It's looking at the past history and trying to see what could we be up against.
I get all that, Tommy, but we're talking about the COVID relief. I mean, the federal government gives us over $300,000, not for us to pay fire trucks off. I don't think that's what it's for. I mean, I thought it's COVID relief. I mean, our employees endured through COVID.
If you complain how the federal government is handling it, you have a choice to do it. Do it right, lower the sewer rates. Or whatever, pay a little bit extra to employees. 3% is a standard rate out there. It's just ridiculous.
Is this this where we're allowed to chime in or something? I'm just wondering how many households are even in Mooresville? 1.1 million doesn't really seem like it would go very far to pay down sewer rates. That's my opinion. What would that be like? $5 a household? I mean,
That's about 25% of what we're spending on the phase 1 and 2 sewer projects.
yeah, I'm just wondering. I mean, I would love to pay down sewer rates, but I don't know. 1.1 million sounds like a lot, but when you calculate that out over a whole town, I don't think people are going to be as excited about it as they might think.
Well, what they're proposing would give you zero.
Zero.
So, back in the pocket.
I got you. Okay, so how many households are paying for this? How many households are using the sewer system?
3,200? 3,200?
We just said
think it was
10,000 people.
Right
in
around
Mooresville.
that, yeah.
Oh,
30,
and
it was right around 3,100 when I was doing
Tommy,
billing.
but it's not just residents. We as department heads, now, everybody's paying sewer rates, correct?
Yeah, I think there's somewhere around 3,200. I don't have the exact number. 3,200 bills that go out.
3,200 people, or whatever, units are paying. Okay, so divide that 1 million by 3,200. It's still better than 50% raise of rates. What's average bill? I'm assuming $50 at least, something like that. $50, even if it's $5 per thing, that's still 10% less than the 50 you originally raised it for.
But Jeff, that was my.
I mean, that's just my, we've just got to do better, Tommy.
I think we have. I think over the past 5 years, we've done a little bit better. If we compare that back. I think we have tried. We brought back longevity. We shift differential. I mean, I was looking back through it because it did strike me just a little bit when you said that. And this last time we added optical insurance. We are trying to take care of them in one way or another. I do feel that way.
So are the extra days you guys proposed, or was I?
Yeah, I was thinking out loud, and I should not have done that. I did not make that in the form of a motion. I said, what else can we do?
Well, they're looking for something. I'll let them know.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Shane?
Hi, I'm going to submit a letter to the president of the council. These are some items that through social media and in-person talks with the public that I'd like to see in the upcoming agendas. One is update the town emergency plan. We didn't get that done last year. The loss of the fire chief stalled that. I know that the department heads have been working on it, but we never did get it done, and I think it's important. I can tell you during the tornado, the one we have was not very helpful. Another issue I've been seeing a lot is safety concerns and accidents at the intersection of Harrison and Jefferson, which is right over here by the community church in Mooresville. I've seen a lot of posts about accidents there. Address traffic snarl at Indianapolis Road and Samuel Moore Parkway. I've been getting a lot of complaints about that. Fixing the gateway lighting. I know Dave's been trying to work on that, and it's been hard to get parts, but I think we need to keep it in the forefront because the torch still doesn't work. Find permanent solutions to the gateway, such as Highway 67 median landscape beds. They're looking worse and worse and worse. Address the long-time problem of the Indiana Street ditch. I think a lot of politicians have been telling the public they're going to do something about that for my lifetime. The Banning Water Study makes recommendations for that, which the town paid for several years ago. Update the town comprehensive plan. I mentioned that earlier tonight. It's now 12 years old. Mapping areas of town that have bad or no sidewalks. Specifically, I'm thinking of Indiana Street where the kids are walking across from the high school. Those sidewalks are deteriorating. Address school system ideas for better lighting on Carlisle Street where the tennis courts are. They've had students that have been hit because it's very dark there in the early school mornings. The school system's asked me about maybe painting a school logo at this on the street surface at Indiana and Carlisle. This would be at the intersection of four-way stops, so it would be a school logo. And paint may not be the right word for that, but it's you can drive over and it doesn't damage it. And then something that I've always noticed is I'd like to find a solution for that hideous guardrail at Casey's near Bridge Street, Indianapolis Road. It gets hit and crushed. It's a really ugly entrance to the town. So I just want to submit it for the record, and we can maybe basically try to move some of those forward. Some of them may not cost very much. I think they're doable. Some of them are more involved. You can pass that to the clerk. And one last thing, two things. COVID transportation, before the last meeting we had a weather meeting last time. The meeting prior to that, I talked about transportation for elderly for COVID shots. I've gotten with Susan Lowe, who has experience in elder care, home health care, and she has a vehicle. So what we thought we would try, if the paper can help us, is just give my phone number out. My phone number's everywhere anyway. It's 317-538-4737. And just, if I get bombarded with calls, I'll work with Susan Lowe, and we'll see how much demand there is. If I get bombarded, then I can solicit some churches for help and start trying to recruit some volunteers that way. You had mentioned City Changers. I'm sure that we could talk with them, but I'm not sure how much the demand is. So these would be people, who need transportation to Martinsville and haven't been able to get it through other channels. But lastly, I don't want to forget the $5,800 for the town 200th anniversary. It seemed like the council was pretty favorable towards that when I brought it up, but I don't want to delay that. If we're going to do it, we need to get going on that. I think it would take an additional appropriation, if I'm not mistaken. So I just wanted to bring that up, and that's all I have. I know it was a lot, I'm sorry.
Okay. The $5,800, we had discussed that, and that's, State Board of Accounts, that's kind of iffy. I mean, what can we do on it?
So when you're looking at it, you will have to have an additional appropriation, so you have to have the hearing aspects of it. You'll need to make sure that it is appropriated out of funds that are able to be used for either services or promotional. I think the discussion was that we were looking at the potential of giving it to the community foundation.
Yeah, I think that they're leaning, the committee that's the town's appointed to head this, I think is leaning towards the community foundation holding the account. So this would be a one-time donation to them, and it would be for IT use, creation of a website, a logo, all the marketing that goes with that, social media, and a platform to be able to accept donations. But the account would actually be, I think, at the Community Foundation of Lincoln County. So that's my understanding.
Yeah, and that's the tricky part. So if we are talking about a contribution to a 501c3, like the Community Foundation, I think you can make that contribution, but once that contribution is made, then you don't control those funds. They'll have to decide how those funds are made. But I will line that out specifically. I know that there's something specifically for the 501c3 contributions.
Is that the community foundation, or do we have to start a nonprofit for this birthday party?
So oftentimes what the community foundation will do is they'll have separate accounts. So they have this large trust account, but they keep different ledgers for the different organizations and what they want to do. So it falls under their umbrella if it's going to be made to the community foundation. And so that allows different organizations to come in and get charitable contributions. It's kind of like an endowment from the community foundation to that event. So you can have specific things if the foundation decides to support that event and open up that fund, then those contributions can be made to the foundation, and then they deal with it from there.
And would that be a matching grant from Taft?
I can check to see if Taft would consider that.
That's a good question.
I can check.
Okay, there was one item here that he briefly covered, Harrison and Jefferson Streets.
Yes.
I think there's only 2 people in this whole building that like that intersection. But anyhow, that said, if we're looking at issues, you know, we always want to put a stop sign up to control traffic, and we know we can't, but if we have High Street that is now going to be under construction, and we're going to see, even though it is not an authorized detour, can we place some 4-way stops along that road that is paralleling it? And by the time people wait in traffic, I mean, even I think this morning they were cutting trees, and you know, waited through 4 lights down here at the Swifty gas station, and you know, by the time people were cutting up and going across there, they were mad, and they're mad now. So I don't know if there's been requests on Broad Alley, which is I know every alley in Mooresville is Broad Alley, but there is truly a Broad Alley, and they're racing down it, and what they're doing is they're using it as a detour, and it's only going to get worse because right now all they're doing is blocking traffic for a moment. Can we do something there and then try to meet the merits? Well, we won't meet the merits now because we don't have the traffic coming off of a construction road.
So the problem is that whenever you put out a traffic control sign, device, whatever, whether that be a speed limit, stop sign, yield sign, the MUTCD kind of controls that. And my concern, and I'm giving this concern sitting here in the legal seat, is that it opens the town up for liability. And it opens the town up for liability because the appellate court has said, in the occasion in which a municipality does not follow a traffic study pursuant to the MUTCD guidelines, that municipality, then it can be inferred by the jury that in and of itself is negligence, and then opening up the liability.
Could we add that intersection to we haven't officially ordered our traffic study yet, right?
No, we're still working on funding, and I have an update on that too.
Could we add that intersection bid? Because there's been a lot of accidents, I think.
Well, if we can document a lot of accidents, that would override a percentage of cross traffic. Do we have documentable?
Well, we got a traffic course, yes, for that intersection. Which, you know, every time we do a crash, it's been a mistake.
Can you forward that with the serial numbers of the guns to Jewel, and let's see if that meets.
How far back do you want to go? 2019?
Let's do 3 years. Yeah. Yeah, 1824. There was a horse there, but you know that's been a tough intersection, and Jeff, you probably fought it as an officer. Sunday mornings, people get really irritated in that area because of the cars, and you know, we have some signs that block so far away from the intersection that basically I think it's state statute. So if you would, please look at that. The request went to the redevelopment board for funding. The redevelopment board wanted a number, and I said $5 million, but they wouldn't do that. So they also asked if the school was willing to participate. So I did send a letter to Randy Taylor asking for participation from the school board because of the concerns with the redevelopment board on an exact number. With 3 partners, the town, the redevelopment board, and the school, I divided it by 3 and came up with $880 or $8,800 apiece, and said that would be fair and equitable if they saw their way clear, but in no means was a ransom note, contribute all you want to. So I have not heard back from the redevelopment board, or from the school board, but I'm not sure when their meetings are. Are they the first Mondays?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Do we need to agree, send a proposal to them?
I sent a letter, Randy Taylor, I told him I did not have anything official. He said, if you'll just send us what the town council has adopted, what they're looking at, which it was a copy of the dollar amount on the study, and here it is divided in thirds. That's all he said, because actually I asked him if he wanted myself or a member of the council there, and he said, "Yeah, I'll sell it." He said, I'll take it to them. I think he was extremely happy that it addressed some of the school's concerns there. So that was it.
So it'll be a third, a third, a third? Is that what the goal is?
Well, I asked for more. I would have asked for more from the redevelopment board had you not said that.
Well, how about 50, a quarter, a quarter?
There you go.
You ask what you want, I don't care.
But that's exactly.
You ask 100, if it was up to me. And that's not a joke.
But that's what I asked or said to the school.
Okay.
The next meeting will be Tuesday, March 16th, in the year 2021. Let's have it at 6:30 right here. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. See.
Well, you kicked out Jeff.
He's got to go to work.
You gotta go to work. Pouring rubber out here.
He's an IMPD officer.
What's that?
He's a police officer.
I took out the
With the mask.
CFL things that are confidential, and I wrote
Oh, is he?
Yeah, I got
Yeah,
that.
hanging out, yeah.
Schools meet on the second Tuesday,
Second Tuesday.
so they will meet a week from tonight.
Hey, can you, if they don't talk about it, can you raise your hand and say, hey, what?
I don't cover schools though.
Oh.
That's Cody, but no, they do meet on the second Tuesday of the month.
have dinner registered.
They used to meet on the first Tuesday of the month, and they realized there was a conflict there with you guys.